Hi there, this is Heather Grimes. Chapter 2, discussing the activities, deeper learning, self-care, wraparound services, and fun with friends and extracurricular activities. I'm going to start by ranking them in the order that I feel that they are critical to my specific teaching in my classroom and my school, and then I will break that down into why I chose those that ranking. And then last, I will talk about any barriers that I see talking about these four. So to put them in order, critical component number 1, I feel like the most important in my situation is deeper learning. Number 2, the wraparound services, and I'll explain a little bit more why that's number 2. And number 3, fun with friends and extracurricular activities. And then number 4 is safe care, and I'll explain that as well. So number 1, I think it is, being an online teacher, I think it is already, during the readings, I have a lot of connection because my students are already doing a lot of the online curriculum that they're talking about. And then my goal is in the live sessions is to make sure that students are using that learning that they have with the online curriculum and bringing that into the classroom and having those discussions with peers and doing those project-based learning activities. So really applying those skills from the individual work that they've been doing through their curriculum into a group setting, which is not face-to-face, but in the online classroom. I like the part in this section, deeper learning, that says the online curriculum helps students know, but the other things that we're doing with students are the school is focusing on students, how they can do to be or to do. So I feel like in my situation that is happening, that they have that online curriculum that they're working through with a parent or what we call a learning coach, so that adult that's home with them. And then the online sessions are focused on, like I said, project-based learning, those discussions with their peers and with myself. So that's number 1, deeper learning. Number 2, I put the wraparound services. This might be a little bit different than other students because of my online background. So I feel like our community is needing this a little bit more than maybe some, that having the parent at home with the student, I feel like sometimes not only am I a support for the student, I'm also a support for that learning coach or parent. So having the resources there to be able to help a learning coach with ways to teach something, or stepping in and helping in so many other different ways in their life at home. So I like the part in the book that talks about the where really teachers are like that parental person, but also I'm doing that with kind of being a co-teacher with the learning coaches. So those wraparound services I think are extremely important in my situation. I feel like they're maybe even more needed in the online learning. One thought I had while reading this is that we do have counselor in our school, on our online school, and maybe bulking up those resources with her for things that she does things like if students don't have resources to pay bills, she has resources to help them with that, or I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but resources that are helping them, but maybe more specific to my younger students. Maybe I'm constantly helping them with behavior type situations, so giving them some resources to help with students on a day-to-day basis. Going from being the learning coach to the parent back to the learning coach is sometimes a challenge, and so really maybe condensing all of the resources that I've been talking about with learning coaches and putting them in one spot for learning coaches to be able to grab if they're needing some ideas on how to deal with students at home while they're teaching them and learning and all of that. So that's number 2, the wraparound services. I think that is very important. Number 3, I have fun with friends and extracurricular activities. Again, my situation being online, we don't have a lot of face-to-face interaction. At this point, we have once a month we have an outing, but it is K-8. So my goal for next year is to have a smaller group of students that are similar in age, and then also my students are all over Kansas. So really making a point to move around and have my own kind of field trips where we're getting to know each other. We're doing some activities, some learning activities, hands-on, project-based things that we've been doing in the online classroom, bringing that into a live situation. And I'll talk about some barriers on that in just a minute. Another thought I had reading this part, the fun with friends and extracurricular, being in an online school, I think that it is important to maybe have, same with the wraparound services, having maybe finding some resources in the community for the learning coaches and students to find some extracurricular activities outside the house since they're schooling online. I think it's very important for students to have that social aspect to their education as well. So maybe having some type of list that students or learning coaches are able to go down and say, there's something going on at the library today, we can go to that. I think that's really important to not just be with us, but also broadening that since you're not in a brick and mortar classroom. So that's number 3. Number 4, I put safe care, which seems kind of odd to me to be able to, while reading the section, it is very important that students are taken care of. But in my situation, the learning coach or parent is that primary safe care person. So this one, that is why I put it as number 4. We are also obviously in communication with the learning coach. If we see something isn't being cared for, then like I said, we would go through our counselor and try to assist that learning coach in finding those resources to help with what they need. But for the most part, the reason I put safe care as number 4 is because it doesn't apply to my classroom school situation as much as a brick and mortar would. A couple barriers that I thought of while going through this. The wraparound and the safe care situation, I feel like both of those, a barrier could be the learning coach doesn't see the need for something that we think that there is a need for. One thing that we have had, or I have struggled with, is maybe the learning coach doesn't have the same importance of education in general. So if I'm holding education at a certain standard, but the learning coach or the parent is not, that's hard to find a middle ground, or try to educate that learning coach or student on the need of it, or the positives of education. That goes with same as resources. If we think a resource is needed within the family, that learning coach might not think that. So I think that could be a barrier in those situations. I also think with the extracurricular and fun, we have had very low attendance on the live face-to-face outings. So I'm hoping that next year, changing it a little bit and making it a smaller group of my students, not K-8, but my specific students, that will help, and having it go with the lessons that we are already doing in the classroom. I think that will help as well. So I'm hoping that will be helpful, but that is a barrier as well, because you can't force them to come to a face-to-face event. All right, so those are my barriers, and ranking them, the activities in critical ways. So thanks very much.